What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Nebraska Football at the Voice of College Football. Huskers Live. Don't know what episode we're on. Doesn't matter. We are going to continue forward anyways. We do have Trey Taylor coming on. We are having an issue with the link at the moment. Works on everything except Trey's phone. So I'm blaming Apple because that's usually the culprit, but we're going to get it figured out. We're figuring it out on the back end. In the meantime, but Brian, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Minus all the stress you're feeling. It's okay. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get
anxiety about this stuff.
Get this link situation sorted out.
Tech issues. If you see me dodging my eyes over left and right, it's because I'm probably responding to Twitter.
Tech issues are part of the problem, but we will get them in here nonetheless, in one way or the other. So, but Brian, in the meantime, we had something happen, recently. Commitment.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, Mr. Jace Reynolds. I've said this time and time again about Jace. He's just like that one guy, like anytime he visits, just put him on a commit watch. I like his film quite a bit, but we'll go over kind of his position at Elkhorn North, which that's where I grew up, was Elkhorn, but that was long before Elkhorn North or Elkhorn South were even a concept of an idea.
Yep.
But he's 6'2", 200, 205 pounds. It kind of just depends on where you're getting your recruiting information from. He's a consensus 3-star, pretty solid 40 at a 4.5 40. He had a 9.8 broad jump, and this was at a camp he did last summer. So I imagine those times are probably improved, or at the very least stayed the same. Big time offers from like Kansas State, Minnesota, Iowa State. I'm sorry, not Iowa State, Iowa, and Northwestern and Air Force. The big teams Nebraska was competing for mainly were Kansas State and Minnesota and Iowa. He visited all three of those schools on top of Nebraska. His recruitment was a little different. It was kind of like one of those old school Nebraska recruitments where you get that local kid that he's very likely going to Nebraska. And so those other teams are kind of just waiting around to offer him because they want to see what he does. And that's why a lot of other programs kind of held off because, again, it was just, a matter of he's going to be a Husker at some point in time.
Yeah.
Junior stats, 91 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, 6 hurries, 8 pass breakups, a forced fumble, also plays some receiver, also plays long snapper, which I found that quite interesting. To be honest, Nebraska could need a long snapper next year because ours is actually going to be a senior next year. So, in terms of his film, you're like more way in depth than I am, but just like my quick synopsis of it, I thought he was a guy that shows like a really high IQ for understanding the scheme and a high trust guy in terms of trusting his scheme, trusting his techniques, trusting his teammates around him, like passing off coverages. Things like that. Really instinctive, has a good reaction time. For me personally, like when I look at his projection at Nebraska, I look more as like an outside linebacker or a middle linebacker. He's listed as an edge on On3 and I think some other services, but at 6'2", you're a little short to be an edge. And plus, I like his athletic traits as like a pass coverage linebacker that can certainly plug the holes in the run game and fill those gaps. But that's just where I see him more as like a pass coverage outside linebacker or middle linebacker.
Yeah, and just to kind of put a couple things up here in terms of his film, let me share my screen here real quick, and I'm just going to touch on a couple plays that kind of allude to what you were talking about there. So I'm going to bring up play 4, 6, and but I'm going to start with 4 here. But essentially, so what we're going to see, and you were talking about him being more of that kind of, you could see him as a pass coverage linebacker with a skill set, with a size and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and let this run here. And this is going to be, let me let this go here. All right. So you're going to watch on this underneath route. So you're going to see number 4 up top. Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
All right. So you're going to see number 4, sorry, down at the bottom. You're going to see number 4 here. Number 4, what's going to happen? He's going to crash down on that underneath route. Now you see for a split second, you see the 83, I think that is, come open right here. And you see this quarterback wanting to kind of make a play, either to come out, roll out, and throw one of these, throw to one of these guys and or try to make a break for it. So watch what he does here. So he's going to see the play kind of string out right, eyes on the ball, eyes in the backfield, right? And you see the quarterback rolling. Now you see him glance out to the outside. He sees that route is covered. Right now, watch him take a quick step back just to get some depth on that to make sure that he's not going to drop, the quarterback's not going to drop that right over top of his head. let it run a little bit, and then he kind of, stretches it out horizontally just so that way he doesn't get too much depth and give him too big of a lane to run and make a move. And then immediately, as soon as he sees him take a step up the field, he makes a decisive move, crashes down on that, and is able to stop him for about a 2-yard gain past the line of scrimmage. Okay. Now let's move over to play 6 here. Now on play 6, let me let this run. Play 6 and 7 are going to be very similar to each other in just regards of his patience. So we're going to see on play 6 here, you see the run stringing out to the right. Now I want you to watch something here. So when he takes on this block, he understands that he's going to have guys that are going to be able to contain this inside, right? So what does he do? Watch him stick his arm out, right? Get some extension on this guy. He knows this inside's taken. So what is he doing? He's taking this outside lane away. So he's making sure that he's not going to be able to bounce it outside, keeps that defender at length in case he needs to break away to that outside. And again, just everything gets funneled right towards him. He's able to close and finish on that outside. Good job containing there. Another play here. I think it's the same exact game. Patience right here. Again, doesn't attack too soon. He will attack when he needs to, but he's very decisive and smart when he does plant and go. But right here.
Seeing that play
oh, you don't. Oh, sorry. Let me. There you go. So you see him right there up top. Now we're going to get the inside handoff here. And you see him sit back, not on his heels, ready to make a move, and picks up and identifies the play, is able to get down on in the lane and keeps his eyes on the ball. I think it's the biggest takeaway from watching a lot of film is he's very good at keeping his eye on the ball. It's a trait that a lot of Matt recruits have. Just very smart defensively by keeping their eyes on the ball. That way they're not taken out of the play by, a look away by the quarterback or, some kind of routes concept where they're trying to, again, draw him back or maybe draw him down so they can throw it over the top. Maybe. So just very smart in terms of how he plays. And when he does tackle, he finishes well. And so, yeah, I mean, just a lot to love about his film. And of course, him being a hometown kid, and there's a few more plays that we went over. We might go over them later that I broke down. So just a little quick snippet of kind of what you were talking about there.
Yeah, I sent you that clip that I think it was the first or second one you played. The first thing I noticed was him getting that extension and then setting and holding the edge. And that when I was watching it, like I'm not a big film junkie like you are. So like I'm trying to think, what would you like to see? And I saw him with that really good technique, getting that arm out. And I was like, that has to be like exhibit A on exactly how you would set the edge and keep good distance from yourself and the guy trying to block you.
Yeah, because
there's another too like that too.
Yeah, at that point, the guy who's trying to block you is just reaching. And he's reaching for you. Whether if you let him get his hands inside on you, then he's going to be able to turn you and do whatever he wants, to get you to spun the other way, to take you out of the play. So good job of and he kind of sunned him. He was just kind of sitting out here like this. Like
it looked like he was hardly trying, which is he probably was not, but it looks so effortless to me. And that's what I like when I see a guy it looks very effortless. That means it's very natural.
It's like DK Metcalf when he blocked that one guy on the sideline like this.
Yeah.
Like he was a child, not an NFL player. So yeah, just a lot of good to like about Jace Reynolds there. So anything else on him?
I think he's just people will get hung up on the lack of offers. So that's why I wanted to stress this was a very much a Nebraska only recruitment in the sense that everyone knew he was very likely coming to Nebraska. And that's why you didn't see Michigan. I'm fairly confident was after him, but yeah. Michigan very likely knew, we all know, local kid staying home. And so Michigan never came in with that offer, but they're very heavily monitoring the situation. I'll put it that way. So, the 5.5, 3-star, whatever, I turn on the tape and I look at, a kid that has traits that are translatable to the college game. And I think he's going to be, after he adds 20 or 30 pounds, he'll be a guy that, is probably in the rotation in 2-3 years. Yeah.
And speaking of the translatable tools, that was kind of one of the biggest things that I broke down on the Trey Taylor video is just kind of when we look at film, it's when you look at a high schooler's film, and a lot of times people make the comment who are they playing against? This, that, and third competition level. And to a point, they got a point. You see somebody go out there and they just out athlete everybody, right? And they just are bigger, faster, stronger than everybody. But when you really look at a guy who uses a skill set to, and a translatable skill set. So for instance, being able to have touch on your ball, being able to make the smart read, knowing when to throw, knowing when to pass, not just running because you're fast. Having a systematic approach to the quarterback position and being a skilled quarterback. And that's the tools that he has on top of his already, raw ability that he does have, naturally. But it's the fact that he's the student of the game, and you see that translate to the film. You see that translate on the field when you're breaking down all the plays, that he has really put this. He is the cerebral part down. And I think that's the big part for quarterbacks is the mind, because the mind is everything. You can't play quarterback with a mind that's going too fast. If your mind's going too fast, your feet are all over the place, your throws are going to be all over the place. When you got a calm mind, calm feet, you can make your throws, you can be smart, you can get your hips around, you can, dial it in a lot better. And he just seems very calm, composed, and poised back there just for being such a young kid, even at the high school level. So yeah, translatable tools are important. So
you want to dive into the chat a little bit? I'm trying to.
Yep, let's go ahead.
Trey's.
Good evening, guys. Welcome to the Huskers. Trey, you're gonna love it. Yeah, I'll pull that up when he gets in here. Excited for Trey Taylor interview. Good evening, all. Go Big Red. We're talking about Jace Reynolds. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. The other Dave. I don't know who's the original Dave. That's the good question. Michigan's president leaving for Florida. What do you think about that whole Michigan situation?
Oh man, NCAA, they should be throwing the hammer down at them, and they're just gently laying them down, and I don't understand it. Giving, was it Harbaugh and two other assistants that are now in the NFL show causes for 4 years? They're not going to be back in college for 4 years, so who cares? Reduce scholarships. You have to have some type of punishment. What they did is incredibly scandalous, and the fact that this isn't the only issue. They had the FBI in there not too long ago for another issue, for an assistant coach doing, I'm not going to say exactly what, but because I don't want to get cut off of YouTube, but it's incredibly freaking bad. And then there was another issue. So you had the federal government and they're investigating you for literal felony crimes, and nothing happened. And now you cheated for 2 years and nothing is happening.
Yep.
It's honestly, it's sad that, they only gave him the dude lied to the federal government in one case. He lied to the NCAA. We're talking about their head coach, and he gets a 2-game suspension that's self-imposed. Mm-hmm. Give me a break. It's
makes me wonder if Michigan has dirt on the NCAA somehow.
Oh yeah, it has to be.
They're afraid of a retaliatory lawsuit or something like that. Michigan has to have dirt on the NCAA at this point, because we know typically with the NCAA, the process is drawn out. Every single time we have one of these investigations, it's a long, drawn out process. Now we have a situation where it's long and drawn out, but then the punishments that are being levied aren't necessarily anything. The NCAA is doing absolutely nothing about it. So absolutely no idea what their approach is, what their game plan is here, but it seems like they're just letting Michigan self-punish because they don't want to punish them for whatever reason that may be.
They have lost all. Someone else put it here. I'll pull it up. Never mind me. NCAA has lost control 100%. They have no ground to stand on at this point.
None.
Because they have completely ruined college athletics. For their Nebraska at one point had players take food from a buffet at a booster event, and they were suspended equal to the amount of games that Coach Moore has been suspended for lying to the federal government, for lying to the NCAA, and for spying on opposing teams.
Yep. What do you think their punishment should be? Would you give them the death penalty?
No, I think that's what Pitt Snipe said.
I think it's a little much, but something more.
Yeah,
than this.
You can't seriously just let them self-impose things. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And I'm wondering how, with the new scholarship limits, do they still impose scholarship limits
with the 105?
Yeah, because that's you don't have as many players. So I wonder at what point does it you got to account for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe you tell them you can only carry 90 into fall camp.
Yeah, then I wonder if that becomes a
something.
player safety issue because you don't have enough players, or feel like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some gray area with it, but you
Yeah,
have. The
I'm just
problem
curious.
is it's not the player's fault either. Like,
Right.
probably a lot of it's the coach's fault,
Yeah.
and that's my point. Is you have to do something to the coaches more so than players. That's always been my big gripe with the NCAA, like the whole Sandusky thing, and then they penalize the players by reducing their scholarships.
Hmm.
That has no effect on the coaching staff. They penalized the new coaching staff, which John Butler was a part of,
Yeah.
for having nothing to do with what happened. So that
Hmm.
I've always had issues with the NCAA. They're grossly incompetent.
Yeah, very, very much so. And we've seen that just with their decision making and everything. So, all right. Lack of institutional control, give them SMU treatment, turn the big house into a duck pond. Every other Dave claimed message board names before I had a chance, got chastised for Husker Dave. So I went with the other Dave. Well, you're the original Dave to us. Okay. Um, let's see. Trey's been going crazy peer recruiting on X ever since coming aboard. Yeah. When we get him on, we're going
That's what we're going to
to,
talk.
we're going to talk about some of that peer recruiting. So we'll get some updates and details on the status of peer recruiting too. So for those that weren't here early on the show, we're just having a link with an issue with the link. For some reason, it's broken on Trey's in Trey Taylor, not trailer. Trey Taylor. I think it could be a good nickname for him though. Trailer. No, but the link's broken on his end for whatever reason. We sent him something that should be able to resolve the issue. So we're just working on figuring that out. But he has been going nuts. I've been seeing comment after comment of him leaving every time player gets an offer. He's like, link up with me, in Nebraska, or let me throw you the rock in Nebraska, those type of things. So, I talked about this on the film review. It's a little extra level of commitment to me when a player gets out and is peer recruiting and is putting an investment in the future of the program, as soon as he commits, even a little bit before he commits,
Yeah, he was doing some peer recruiting on that visit for the
Yes.
spring game. Because he was a
Yeah.
silent commit for like 2 weeks. So
Yes.
there's a lot more going behind the scenes than what people realized until it went public. And now that it's public, he can just publicly be like, yo, let's all link up at Nebraska.
Yep. Let's see. How did Sharon Moore lie to the federal government? Heard that all. Please fill me in.
They had a former coach that was involved with sex crimes and deleting stuff, and he was part of that coaching staff and lied about it.
Yep.
When they interviewed him.
So way to do it. Commit early. Choose your own teammates. 100%. How does that tie in with the federal government? Oh, they investigated it. This is a superlative podcast. That's your girl.
That's your girl. That's my wife.
Can you back out? Come back in. Back in.
Yep.
All right. When he leaves, I'm gonna continue going to your comments. Let's see. Job getting them on. Yeah, we're gonna have a few players coming on. We got Jace that's gonna be coming on soon as well. So yeah, we've been in talks with Trae for a little while about getting him on. So hopefully we get this link issue figured out so that way we can bring him on sooner rather than later. So we got Brian back in here. All right, what's up, man? Deleting texts. Yes, exactly. All right. So in the world of recruiting, give us some updates.
The world of recruiting. Okay, so I was actually planning to do, I think I'll probably do Thursday, like a wide receiver board recruiting update. But in terms of like overall recruiting update, Luke Sorensen's really like the big tight end. He's a 4-star. He's down to top 3 basically of USC, Nebraska, and I believe Penn State was the other one. Now, Nebraska offered Luke Sorensen back in January. They were like the first real bigger program to offer him. And then USC offered about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Penn State offered on the 26th. And so their quick surge up his board is a little concerning to me because Nebraska is really only going after 3 tight ends. And it's Luke Sorensen, it's Camden Jensen, and I'm drawing a blank on another one. I'll think of it here in a minute. But Luke Sorensen, I think Nebraska has really been high on him, and Camden Jensen. I think those were their 2. Like if you had to put them in an order of their pecking order, Camden 1, Sorensen 2. I think there's a couple guys you should be looking for to commit it could be here in the next week. It could be here the next 3 weeks. You got official visits starting here in the next 2 weeks, I believe, starting May through June. Look for like a guy like Dominic Turnbull. He's only set up one official visit right now, and that's to Nebraska. And we've been high on him. He's been high on us really the entire time. Darian Jones, with those connections, that's an obvious kind of got to be on commit watch. Jamal Rule at running back. I think Nebraska is surging up his board more so than DeZephan Walker. DeZephan Walker, I think, is high on Nebraska. He's just got a ton of like big time programs after him right now. And Nebraska, we know Nebraska is not going to be a school that's like, hey, we're offering you X for your NIL deal, and school B is offering you, 150,000 more. And Nebraska is not going to be that program that just goes and just keeps upping the offer. They have a value at that position, and they're not going to budge from it too much. They will go up a little bit, but they're not going to budge from it a lot. Nebraska just went in home with CJ Bruneau, the big 4-star defensive back. He committed last year, or maybe it was earlier this year. I kind of get lost on the time frame. That's a big one to keep tabs on because Florida State's coming after him, which ironically their defensive coaches didn't want him when they were at Nebraska. So that's kind of funny.
Yep.
Florida State, Syracuse, Oklahoma's trying to make a push. If Nebraska, because he visits in June, if Nebraska can basically get through the official visit season without him decommitting, I like their chances to hold on, but it's going to be tough because his recruitment's blown up. Like when Nebraska offered and committed, he had like maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 Power 4 offers. And now he's like, I think Rivals just did a recruiting update, and he's like a top 80 prospect on Rivals. The kid's just crushing it in track times right now. He ran a 10.2 at his last track meet, which is nuts. Ryan Mosley, which I'm not going to go too much into Ryan Mosley, but it's going to be a battle to keep him out of the southeastern region part of the country. There's guys that we can probably ask Trae about that he can kind of give us probably a more realistic expectation on who he thinks he can pull with him to Nebraska from the class of 2026. Nebraska just visited Titan Davis. They just visited Valdon Sohn out in Virginia. That was Coach Braden that went out there and visited him. And then Ryan Moret, I've talked about him a lot. I really like Ryan Moret from Miami, Florida. It's going to be tough to pull him away from the Hurricanes, though. But if he leaves the southeastern part of the United States, he's going to be coming to Nebraska. That's the way I look at it, at least.
Yep.
I can keep going if you want. I got all the names. I got a whole sheet here.
Yeah, let me dive into a couple comments here. Let's see. Sharon lied to the federal government. Why is he being charged and indicted? That is a felony if that's the case.
Because it's the U.S. court.
He's not getting punished for anything. That's the problem. They're not getting punished for anything. Only one visit's awesome. We love those guys that really want to be here. Exactly. Percentage chance CJ sides with Nebraska.
I'd say before his in-home visit with the coaches this week, I would have put it at like 40%. That visit did go really good though. So I'm not going to go higher than 50-50 if I'm being honest. I
think it's like a 45.
He hasn't even visited Nebraska right now. I mean, but he's visited Florida State multiple times. He's visited, I think, Syracuse. He's visited, I'd have to pull up his profile, but he's visited a lot of other schools a lot since committing to Nebraska. He never came in the spring, which is a concern.
Yeah. Let's see. So I've gathered the text messages of the whole coaching staff were subpoenaed in relation to the former assistant who tried to induce underage girls to visit him. Was that who was that, Stallions?
That was the federal case against that former coach. That
was that one. Valdon is definitely a future Husker. This year, Matt and company could show their ability to coach them up. Yes, without a doubt. His Twitter is filled with Nebraska fans on everything. The text messages were recovered. They never released yet just when he deleted the text, before or after the subpoena. Yeah, exactly. It's a whole, listen, Michigan's got a whole whatever. That thing's, they're going to be dealing with that. They've been dealing with it the last, two years now?
Yeah.
And we still have not come to any sort of resolution as to what happened. Well, I mean, we know what happened, but like they can't figure it out and be like, this happened, and then just lay the hammer on them. Soon. Was that
to whoever? I'll say we're not going to know anything anytime soon. Oh, my puppy. Sorry, I'm going to mute myself if you want to talk.
No, you're good. Yeah, when it comes to hold on. Let me go back to coach them up. Are we going to pull Jordan Campbell? We'll ask Brian that when he comes back. When he comes back in, when his dog shuts up. Let's see. Or the Florida decommit. Brian, just pay attention to these questions so you can answer when we come back on. This year, Matt Cubs show their ability to coach them up. You talking about the young bucks? I think this is I think that's the thing that has me most excited about this year is we're going to start to see the fruits of the labor pay off with the development. Fully. Fully. The last couple of years, we got a little taste of it. Now we're going to get to kind of see really what this staff has been able to do in this third year. But a couple recruiting questions there.
Yes. So where's the first one? Jordan Campbell. Yes. If I had to put a percentage on that, I would say we're in the ballpark of like a 55% chance of flipping him. I like where Nebraska sits. The big thing with him is securing an official visit.
Yeah.
He's only locked in one official, and that's to Miami. So if in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks you see Jordan Campbell schedule that official visit, because really it's Nebraska or Miami for him.
Yeah.
And the big thing that Nebraska has a selling point of is going to be really early playing time. Probably you have success with guys from Florida, Vincent Shavers, Willis McGahee. You've got coaches from Florida, Phil Simpson's from Miami, just like Jordan is. Who else? We got Addison Williams on staff. But there's just so much Florida flavor to Nebraska that's going to give him like that sense of home at least. Mm-hmm. I think we have a really good shot though. I'm more of an optimistic when it comes to recruiting, to be honest. Like there's just certain tea leaves that you see and you hear certain things, and it's the big problem here is it's Miami. It's the homeschool, and they have a $30+ million NIL budget. And if Nebraska offers 400, they're going to offer 600, and Nebraska is going to probably not offer that.
Did you see that post earlier today of the NIL totals of each Big Ten school, like per recruit in the 2026 class?
I did not, but I imagine Nebraska's probably.
So I'm going to pull it up here. Just
top 7 in the Big Ten.
Pull it up here just real quick so you can see what we're looking at. So we got Maryland, 190K. Don't know how many recruits they got, but Ohio State, 158K. Oregon, 152K. USC, 143. Michigan, 134. Washington, 95. Penn State, 70. Rutgers, 40. Nebraska, 40. UCLA, 39. So on and so forth. Down to, you got the Brook Boys, Purdue down here. Thoughts on that? I thought that was very interesting. Maryland, 190K.
That's such an odd thing to throw out there. Like,
I know.
Telling me that Nebraska paid $40K for Christian Jones.
It's the average.
I want to say the average. Well, yeah. There's probably a handful of guys that aren't getting anything. They're probably a scholarship guy that's going to earn their money the old-fashioned way with NIL, with doing card dealership commercials.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of where I figured Nebraska would be. I think what I say before you pulled it up, like top 6 or 7. So
something like that, yeah.
5, 6, 7, that's 8. I don't care what that number says about Rutgers. They're definitely broke as crap.
Yeah, they are.
I would never go to Washington. As beautiful as Washington is, that's just a nightmare of a campus right now. Same thing with USC.
Yeah.
Oregon's pretty bad. Has nothing to do with football, but
yeah, I feel like UCLA, I feel like their NIL's been terrible, and their whole athletic department has been terrible. So the fact they're spending $39K per recruit, I don't know.
And that's probably not including. Does that say per high school recruits?
It just says per recruit in the 2026 class via on3 team ranking /breakdown.
So we can guarantee Dane Key's probably in the 700,000 to 800,000 range. Neziah Hunter's probably in the 500 to 700 range. Who else did we get through the portal? Rocco's over $1 million. Elijah Pritchett's over $1 million.
This has got to be talking about high school, right? Though.
Yeah. Like Nebraska's average recruit from the portal is probably this
is for 26.
300,000.
Yeah.
So
yes.
High school.
So 190K. Yeah, what's a wild number? I don't even know where they pulled these numbers from. I guess like I don't know how On3 pulled these numbers.
I
But
don't trust their NIL evaluation
I don't
things,
either.
to be honest with you.
It's a little wonky.
Like until you make these like these universities an official business, all these numbers are just pure speculation.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Where did that Miami get that kind of money?
Well, there is a lot of cartel members in Miami, so
I wasn't going to go there, but I guess it really depends on whether these roster limits are imposed this year, next year, or ever. I mean, Nebraska hasn't gotten anyone big yet, really, huh?
I mean, they just landed the number 3 quarterback in the country.
Brandon, what are we talking about here?
They landed the number 1 edge in the portal and the number 1 wide receiver in the portal, and he was number 9 overall. So
2026 class isn't anywhere close to done. That I agree with. Yeah, we're not anywhere close to done. It's just it was an interesting number that they pulled up. Kind of show where teams are at in terms of their aggressiveness.
Yeah, this 2026 class. You're probably getting 9 to 11 more recruits, and they haven't even like the car, like they've turned the engine on, but they haven't like put it in drive yet. Like they're just kind of coasting right now, sitting in the driveway, waiting to take off, because here in the next month and a half, you're going to have 12 commits at least in the next month and a half. I'll tell you that right now.
Hey, Justin, your show is always great, but adding Brian brings a different element. I don't comment a lot, but watch weekly. Been a Husker fan. Hey, appreciate that, David. It's why I brought him on, man. Brings a whole different a level of knowledge, a different look from it, and he loves his recruiting. So let him take over that part, and I could stick to the film. So
it makes a good combo.
But I appreciate that, David. Thank you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Maryland has the Under Armour founder. Yeah, they do. They have that. Suck. They have that Under Armour money. It's like Oregon with the Nike money. Isn't Maryland's NIL all on that 5-star guy? That's what I was saying. It depends on what their class looks like too, and how many players they have. Like how weighted is that 190K? Yeah, if they got a big fish in there. I really looked at their class. Maryland and Rutgers takes a lot of flack for being the Big Ten doormats. Kudos to them for digging up competitive NIL. Yeah, true.
You have.
Yeah. What do you mean nobody big? I call Raiola Trey pretty big. Yeah, I agree, Judy. 2026 recruiting, nobody big. Trays are 2027. All right. We'll see how
Just trust me. Just
see
trust
how that
me.
plays out. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out, Brandon. We think you're going to like our class, Brandon. But I get what he's saying. He's talking about just not yet, and that's probably why that they're at 40K right now. So that makes sense.
Right now, like most people would be like have their alarm bells go off, like holy crap, like we only have 4 commits going into May. Like, just trust me. This June, July, you're going to have 30 official visitors in between June 6th and June 20th. 30 official visitors, and damn near all of them are 4 stars.
Yep.
So it's going to pop. It's just a matter of when.
I saw a question, and I started playing the film in the background. I hit my space bar. That film music just started playing. Let me see. Where was the question at? It was about running backs. How many running backs will they take? So we've talked about this, the running backs, a few times on the channel. Right now, it's just a matter of if the right fit comes. And I don't think they're looking to necessarily add anybody. It's only if the right fit happens. If only the right fit falls. Otherwise, the running back room is what it is.
Unless you're talking about high school recruiting.
So high school.
You're talking about high school. They'll take 1, maybe 2. Like if DeShone Walker's like, hey, I want in, you're taking that commitment. And then if Rule's like, hey, I want to commit 2, like you're taking those guys.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure. Yeah, you might be right. They're probably talking about recruiting. I thought they were talking about how many we're going to bring into the season or taking the in this last little spring part here. So
yeah, pretty much nothing.
As of right now. No, we get what you're saying, Brandon. I understand. Brian makes me feel kind of funny, like when we climbed the rope in gym class.
I couldn't climb a rope, so.
Pitt Snipes got PTSD from getting bullied because he couldn't climb the rope. Trae reclassifying to 26 would not make much sense, at least for Nebraska. Most big crooks already committed and wouldn't start in 26 anyways. Nebraska's pretty good on their quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't see a need to reclassify, but
not at all.
If he wants to, you're not going to tell him no.
Agree completely. Oh, let me see. Hold on. Let me send him the link again.
I'm going to pull up this one comment from Brandon too on the Florida decommit. I just drew a blank on his name. I'm sorry, Brandon, but he's committing to Nebraska here by the end of June or July. 4-star safety. I'd have to pull up my big board here, but if someone can drop his name in the chat. I'm just drawing a blank right now because I've got 30 things going on my computer. But yes, I would. His decommitment was very much at the result of Nebraska's move up his board. So it's just a matter of time.
All right. I just sent him the link. He said he has the app and stuff now. He needs the link to paste into it. So
okay. And then sorry, I was trying to monitor everything, but
go ahead. You keep going through the comments while I deal with this.
Brad, I don't think we take more than 12 to 15 recruits max for 25. I think you're right on the money. I would say 15 at the absolute most. The only exception would be like, let's say you get to 15 commits and December rolls around and Jordan Campbell, because like if we want to get Jordan Campbell, it very well likely could take till signing day, just to preface that off the top. Mm-hmm. And if come signing day in December, Jordan's like, hey guys, I want to commit to Nebraska, you're taking that commitment, like regardless of it being one spot over. Like at that point, just when the portal comes around, you just tell a guy like, we don't have room for you. I mean, it's the harsh reality of the transfer portal and scholarship limits and all this stuff, but you have that right now as a program to tell this player, just like they did with the punter, hey, we're changing our scheme. You don't really fit in. You have to transfer, essentially.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. So yes, pit snipe on the roster limits thing. There's supposed to be a ruling on, I think tomorrow the judge going to make some kind of a ruling potentially. Did we already talk about that? Sorry. But yeah, they're more than likely grandfathering this. Yeah, they're more than likely grandfathering this from the report I saw today. So I'm not too worried about Nebraska cutting down to 105 by fall camp. Let's see. Man, we went through a lot of comments there. I'm scrolled way up. Pit Snipe said I climbed the shit out of that rope. Pegboard too. Can you do a pegboard?
Me?
Yeah.
I haven't tried one. Like,
oh yeah, I had to do that. Was like middle school like requirement. Everyone had to do a peg.
Bro, I'm from a small town. We were broke. We didn't have no pegboard.
I grew up in Elkhorn, which was pretty nice. Yes, Devin Jackson.
My town was called Sour Lake. Like literally like a sour lake. Yeah. I was like literally probably 800-900 people when I lived there. So
yeah, it's not very big. When I lived in Elkhorn, it was like 7,200 people. And now it's like, we had 2 middle schools and 1 high school. And now there's 3 high schools and like 8 middle schools. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's massive.
Thomas, thank you for the reminder. Devin Jackson is the Florida decommit. Look for him to be a Husker. Let's see. What else we got here? Yeah, Caleb, you're exactly right. Once we start winning, everything starts to fall into place. I before I joined this channel, like I was so like on like my own YouTube, I was so like adamant, like you can't expect to attract all these elite recruits on a consistent level, like Georgia, like Alabama, like Oregon, Texas, unless you start winning. Like you have to win. You can promise $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 in NIL, but like at the end of the day, like those kids are wanting to come to a program that's going to win more times than not. And so once you start winning, I even made this comparison when we were talking about Rocco Spindler too. Like, okay, so Nebraska pays him say $1.2 million this year. Mm-hmm. Let's say Nebraska goes and wins 10 games, makes it to a really good bowl game. Maybe they win 9 games, makes it to a really good bowl game, have a really good season. Next year, when that portal comes back around, you could get a same or maybe higher level of player for maybe less because you are winning. So that's my take on it, at least.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, Elkhorn got annexed by Omaha. That happened the year I moved to Kansas City. So I'm glad I moved to Kansas City in time.
Sorry, see if it's given an option. He says he's in. See him. It gives him an option to enter the studio. Let's see. Pegboard, rope, and upside down push-ups were a typical pole vaulting workout. Were you a pole vaulter? That's a good point, Judy. I like the way Trae and his folks handle that. What's that?
I could not do pole vaulting. That would terrify me. I'd be scared that pole gets,
it's going to go through you.
Yeah. Not good.
Like the way Trae and his folks handle that. Are we talking about the that whole situation with the apology?
Dude, since we have this platform on YouTube Live right now, can we talk about how soft Illinois fans are and Luke Gramstad for that?
Sure.
Like, how many times have you seen that happen with a recruit throw a hat off the table?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
He's, especially too, he's 16 years old too. Like, I don't know. And then Luke Altmaier deleted his tweet. I saw that.
I asked a friend who's an Illinois fan, a good friend of mine who's an Illinois fan, and he kind of gave me a little indication, like he was a little bit more level than a lot of the fan base has been with it. But he was kind of like, Illinois being his first offer, and then, him being the hometown kid. And it was almost like he was like, I don't know, like I felt like they had more of a shot. Like I felt like they legitimately thought like he was going to choose them, even though like everything pointed to Nebraska. And so maybe that made them feel, I'm still trying to figure out like how it was taken so negatively. I just thought it was just commonplace. Like we expect that now. It's like we're waiting for the hat throw.
I understand them thinking they have a shot, but you also kind of like what I was saying earlier, like you read the tea leaves. Those tea leaves are little, but they just start to add up. Like, generally speaking, the only fan base, who was he interacting with? Nebraska.
Yep.
Generally speaking, when he would retweet or quote tweet stuff, who was it? It was Nebraska. And those little tea leaves and it points you in the direction of where you're going. And it was Nebraska. And it was Nebraska for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Weeks on end, it was Nebraska.
Yep.
I think every other school was the only, like, they thought they had a chance because he didn't tell anybody. He's silently committed. And that's why they went and visited him last minute. But I imagine those conversations were at that time like, hey, I'm going to Nebraska. Thanks for visiting.
Just an update on Trae. So I gave him the link here. He said it says I'm in, but then I asked if, is it giving you the option to enter the studio? So I'm waiting to hear back because he said it says he's in, but see if he's in the studio. If it's letting him get in or what it's showing on his end. Bro, Nebraska fans have been seeing that all the time. Stuff happens on daily. It comes to recruiting decisions. Exactly. I think a lot of it's because the Illini fans are not used to being involved in big time recruitments. Brian, to be honest. Did y'all see JB interview with Trey's dad? You talking about Coach JB? I am blocked by Coach JB. So
yeah,
he blocked me a long time ago.
I liked Coach JB originally, but man, the more I watched this, I'm just like,
I was a big fan of him until about 7 months ago. We got into it, and I got blocked. I found out how dumb he actually is. Kids stay where they're happy, as evidenced by the guys that came back. Most are at least competing for sports. Yeah, agree. He says he's in the studio. What? This is so weird. I'm so confused. Let me see.
Is it just our studio?
I sent the link.
A studio. Oh, it's Apple, man. That's why they call it Crapple.
Yeah, it really is.
We landed more blue chip prospects in the past however many years than Illinois has ever been in top 10. Yes, that is 100% true. They're also recruiting at a very high level right now. Yeah, imagine if Nebraska did that after David Sanders didn't choose us. Yeah, no kidding. I think one thing too, I think Nebraska fans are well more in tune with recruiting than like your average program though. Like even Tennessee, or Illinois in this case, who we're talking about, like Illinois is just now starting to get success under Brett Bielema, so they're probably not totally tuned into the recruiting aspect of things. But Nebraska, on the other hand, like how many times do you hear recruits like, yeah, I was signing autographs for a 10-year-old kid. I know when Dylan took an unofficial visit, my cousin's kid took a picture with Dylan Raiola at the baseball game. And he was like, oh my gosh, Dad, that's Dylan Raiola. Like, let me go get a picture. So Nebraska's tuned in to another level with recruiting. And so I think that's why we're probably more accustomed to it. I may be totally wrong, but that's just how I look at it. Imagine if you put on a Nebraska hat and threw it off. Oh my gosh. When he put on the Illinois hat and then it was like, I'm staying home, I'm coming to Illinois or whatever, and then paused for like, it felt like 8 seconds, 10 seconds. And I was like, no way that just happened. No way. Yes, CB would have been shocked, but in general, NU fans wouldn't have dunked on him either. Yeah, Nebraska fans would have just been like, generally speaking, would have been like, yeah, best of luck to you. Maybe we'll flip you, down the road or whatever. But generally, Nebraska fans, that's why they say Nebraska nice. Yeah. Are we getting him?
Sorry, my fault. He says he's saying it says he's in the studio. So I'm asking him to send a screenshot or give me a call of what's going on with it so we can try to figure it out. But Safari. It is Apple. Being Apple. Let's see. Imagine put on Nebraska. I'm just trying to read through here. Nebraska got led down Jackson Cantwell too. We just kind of moved on. Yeah, I feel like Jackson Cantwell was one of those guys I always saw as like an Ohio State, potentially in the beginning, the Missouri. Hold on, he's giving me a call. 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk about Cantwell.
Yeah.
So Cantwell's very likely. Oh, you got a Michigan picture now. But yeah, Jackson Cantwell, like Nebraska's on him early and often. They're recruiting him incredibly hard. But he's probably headed to Oregon or Georgia. I'd probably bank on Georgia right now. He just took a visit to Oregon though. But the thing with him is he's being represented by Drew Rosenhaus's agency, who's like an elite super agent. And part of his recruitment too is he wants like a guarantee or a promise that he's going to be playing a lot as a freshman. And Coach Rule's not going to make promises no matter how good you are. Like, you have to earn it. That's always been Coach Rule's thing. Like, you have to earn your spot. You have to earn your keep. You have to earn your playing time. And then also too, the NIL aspect of it. How much is Nebraska willing to sink in to a 17, 18-year-old kid coming out of high school from Nixa, Missouri, who is not playing great competition on a consistent basis? I mean, I can pull up their schedule if need be, but I looked at it many months ago when Nebraska was still kind of in it with Jackson Cantwell, and like they just blow people out by like 30, 40, 50 points every single game because they're just so much better, so much bigger than everybody. So I'm going to pull up their schedule real quick while we're at it.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Did you say you had an idea of how we can do it through the phone?
Yeah.
Not over StreamYard?
I can call him.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got him. I got him on the phone right here. But if you want to give him a call, click over to that.
I can't do it through my computer on X. I can only do it through my cell phone.
That's fine.
X does not give me the option to call.
That's fine.
Sweet.
So can you do that?
Quick. Yep.
All right, cool. All right, so he's going to give you a call. We're just going to do it over the phone. We'll do it that way.
Okay.
Oh, all right, brother. Talk to you soon. There. All right, guys. We're getting it figured out. Don't worry. Blame StreamYard for all this, but we're gonna do it over the phone. Make it a lot easier. Because we're saying every time he downloaded the app, and then whenever it said he was in the studio, and then it says re-entering the studio, and then it just says still entering the studio.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's just Apple.
I wonder if he calls me through X on my phone. Will it pop up on my computer?
Why don't you call his number?
Oh,
sorry, guys. We're trying to get this situated here for you all. So bear with us.
Let me give him a ring.
Y'all waited patiently enough. I think you are. I'll wait a little longer. Exactly, Pit Snipe. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
I almost started reading his phone number out just so.
Yeah, don't do that.
Remember. I'm glad I didn't do that. I caught myself.
Don't do that. I almost warned you. I was like, don't say it out loud.
All right.
Cool. Let's get it rock and roll.
Can everybody hear?
Yeah, I think so.
Trey,
Yep.
what's going on? It's Brian.
We can hear him.
What's up? How are you, Brian?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm good, day's going good. Everything's been pretty good so far.
You've been a busy guy. You had what, 5 o'clock workout or meeting this morning, and then you had your speed training and whatnot this afternoon or evening?
Yeah, that's the usual schedule for me, so it's nothing new.
Let me ask you that. What made you, we're just going to dive right into your interview. Sorry. What instilled that need to get up at 5 a.m. and do film reviews and instilled this, it's almost like a professional mindset you have where you're just grinding all day for football. Like what made you want to start doing that?
For me, it was more so, when I was younger, it was, I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be most prepared. And it still is that, right? But, now I kind of go by this whole chosen one thing, right? And when I say that to people think I'm saying, oh, I've been chosen, I'm the chosen one. No, when I say that is, I'm always going to choose me. And there's only one person I'm going to choose. And, I choose myself over anybody. But the reason why I choose myself is because I've put that work and time and, everything into my craft. So that's why I like to say, you gotta be a chosen one. I'm the chosen one. I choose myself over anybody.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. A little bit about your recruitment too. So obviously you had offers from virtually every school in the country. What was it about Nebraska that stood out to you and led you to decide to commit to Nebraska?
So first things first is Coach Rule, Coach Thomas, Coach Holgerson. They know they've put it like this. When the head coach and your position coach have both been at the highest level, they know what it takes to get to the NFL. Coach Holgerson is an offensive-minded coach that has coached some of the most explosive offenses in college football, period. Right? Overall, the vibe of Lincoln and who I will be surrounding myself with, just me as a man, as a person, I feel like that town can grow me the most. Now, football, going back to football-wise, I feel like we're really creating something special there, and we will. I now have given myself a year and a half to go get whatever we need to make ourselves known worldwide and bring Nebraska football back to what it was. And Dylan has already started that process. So, for me, it's my job to essentially, continue to help that and get the next generation of football players in there. So
I want to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned Coach Thomas, and just from a Nebraska fan's perspective, when we hear about recruits and who they're talking to, he's not someone that comes up a lot. He strikes me as a guy that's very quietly confident in what he teaches and where he can take you. Can you tell Nebraska fans a little bit more about Coach Thomas? Because, we really only get like 5 minutes every other week with him in press conferences. And I think that's a guy Nebraska fans are really curious about knowing more about.
Yeah. I think Coach Thomas, I'll say this. My first time meeting Coach Thomas, I was like, you could tell this guy is straight football. And obviously as a kid that loves football, you love that. But, you're also a kid that has you got to realize that, he's so absorbed into football. That first time meeting him, it was like, dang, this, kind of that, it was a weird feeling at first. But once you get around Coach, once you get around him and, you guys really get into football, you guys really get into, just life in general, Coach is maybe the most calm, coolest coach that, I've probably been around. And I've been around them all. He knows the game front and back like nobody I've ever met. And, I feel like he's the coach that can just develop me overall the best.
He's had some success with Matt Ryan, too, in the NFL, which You know, I think he was the quarterback coach there the year Matt Ryan won MVP, if I'm not mistaken.
When they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I believe he was that the QB coach there.
2 of his 3 MVPs were under him.
Oh, Justin just said he thinks two of Matt Ryan's 3 MVPs were under Coach Thomas.
I think they were, yeah.
That's awesome. So still with your recruitment, so you visited Nebraska for that Rutgers game, and then you visited for the Wisconsin game. Both were night games in Lincoln, which is like the best time to ever visit for a game. What was it about those 2 visits that stood out for you? And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it the Rutgers game where you got your offer at like midfield from Coach Rule?
Yeah, so the Rutgers game is not going to offer pregame midfield. Okay. But that game was a daytime game. And the Wisconsin game was too. It just, it got at the beginning of the fourth quarter, it got darker.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my dog.
No, you're good. Repeat the question again.
What was it about those visits, the Rutgers and the Wisconsin game, that stood out to you?
Shoot. We're talking about a Wisconsin defense that held Oregon, who supposedly had one of the best offenses in the country. They have them to a very low scoring game, correct?
Yeah, it was like 17-14 final score. Oregon won.
And Nebraska put it on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they scored like 45.
Something crazy like that. Right? So that was like this offense is can go somewhere. It's going to be something by the time I get here. And they're going to have all their what's the saying? All their what is it saying? All their chess pieces in order. Like
all their
ducks in a row.
Ducks in a row. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Like they were there last year, but next year you can tell this is going to be executed at a different level. And so seeing that then, and then imagining myself where it could be when I get there, just imagine that. That was the Wisconsin game. The Rutgers game was one of the first time I went there, and I was so into the crowd and how much the fan base was into the game, and just overall in general how loud it was. That overwhelmed me the first time I was there, and so then that's why I had to go back. And I realized, hey, I was there, but I really didn't, I was so locked in on everything else that the game itself was, it was there, but it was slipping my mind a little bit. So I went back and, I really got to watch the offense and see what they do. And their offense is a lot of what I do right now in high school. So that was another big thing. And, I feel like I'm pretty successful in my high school offense now. So, yeah.
Yeah, you could say that. 3,100 yards last year, first year starting. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
We got a question here from one of our subscribers. They want to know why you wear the number 6.
So I wear the number 6 because my father played running back, and he wore the number 6. But originally he wore 22. But anytime I watched him in my lifetime, he always wore 6. So that was the number I took over. And I just kind of stuck with it.
And then before we even had you on, we were talking recruiting and kind of big picture what Nebraska is doing with the 2026 class, 2027 class a little bit. And the common question that everyone was asking, because they knew who was coming on, and that would be you. They wanted to know, who are you peer recruiting?
I mean,
you name it.
Name a big recruit, and I'm trying to get after that. Here, let me pull up some names actually. Trey Moore, who just got that offer today from Nebraska, receiver.
Yep.
Jameer Brown, from Ohio, number 1 receiver in the country, currently committed to Ohio State.
Yep.
We'll see how that ends up. Mason Hamlin, tackle from Lincoln Lake East in Illinois. Cameron Wagner, tackle for St. Joe's.
He's in that Chicago area with you too, isn't he?
Yep, from Illinois.
Yep.
Braden Parks, who goes to Brother Rice from Illinois. Zane Rowe, Ahmad Hudson, Antavius Ellis, Isaiah Rogers, Noah Roberts, Myson Cook. Like I said, who's a DB from Mount Carmel? What's his name?
Are these mostly like 2027 guys?
These are all 2027 guys.
And then Nasir Rankin is from that Chicago area too. Is he someone that you're like trying to get because?
Yes, Nazir Ranking.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
All over.
He wants to play both basketball and football in college. Is that correct, or is that like a luxury but not like a necessity for him?
Honestly, not going to get into that because
okay.
I don't want to for him.
I understand that.
Like I know that obviously he loves basketball, he loves football, but he's
got some legit offers for basketball too. So he's really good.
Check the private chat, bro.
You're right. You're right.
We got a question too. Justin wants to know, what do you consider the best part of your game, and what is your biggest opportunity to work on?
Okay, so best part of my game I feel like is my pocket presence and my reading of a defense and accuracy. I feel like those are my three strongest parts of my game. Walking up to a defense, a lot of the times I can tell what they're in. And when I watch film, I can tell what they're in. Obviously, this year, and mostly beginning part of my high school, once school started realizing we were going to really throw the rock around, they started playing drop 8. And so when I literally tell you it was 4 across and 4 across, one at intermediate, one at deep level, and then they had 3 down linemen, that's what it was. So, I feel like that. And then pocket presence, we played against some of the best D linemen in the Northwest area of the country. Mm-hmm. Nate Marshall, Fitzgerald from Loyola. I mean, Loyola is a college-sized football team, and my ability to have pocket presence in both those games and really throughout the whole season, I think if you watch my film, really just have a real good feel for where people are coming and their angles. And then accuracy obviously is a big part of the game for quarterbacks. A great ball is always going to beat great defense. So, I try and put the ball in catchable areas and protect my receivers. Make sure that they're always put in the best situation to succeed.
When Justin broke down your film, that was one thing when we were watching your film was just you had really good pocket awareness, pocket presence, and when you would like roll out or scramble, we loved your ability to keep your eyes downfield, and that was one thing I think Justin, you can't hear anything, but I think Justin would say just was really impressive. Your arm angles was always consistent over the top. You weren't getting loose with it. And there's like some RPO plays we saw where you had like a sidearm slot. You didn't have like, a great base because of the style of the RPO, but you just kind of slung it out there and it was on time, it's accurate.
Right. I mean, that's all stuff I work on, and, just having that ability to throw a ball like that and not always being in the best positions.
We got a question here too from one of our subscribers, Cade Mayberry. He wants to know, who are your favorite NFL quarterbacks to watch?
So I love watching Jaden Daniels. I love watching CJ Stroud. I love watching Aaron Rodgers. Really just because those are the people I try and, portray my game after. CJ Stroud's got some of the best accuracy in the game. Jaden Daniels' pocket presence and just how he moves and throwing on the run and just everything he does is what I try to imitate. And then Aaron Rodgers, I mean, his release is so fast, it doesn't get better than that.
You're making Justin giddy with the CJ Stroud stuff. He's a huge Texans fan, so he loves to hear that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that kid puts the ball in the money every time he lets go of it.
Yeah, he is phenomenal. Does anybody have any questions they want me to ask him before we let Trey get on with his evening? Justin, do you have anything?
One more. Yeah. I'm echoing, so I'm sorry. But I think the biggest thing I want to ask is how much has being a film junkie, student of the game, really helped his game take off, and what is the value that provides that gets him in here doing that? Constantly being a student of the game, studying the film. Like what does he do on there that helps him get better as a quarterback?
So Justin wants to know, how does being a student of the game and being a film junkie, how is that, taking your game to the next level? Does that sum it up, Justin? Yep.
So I'll say this, like, there's film junkies. Like, anybody can be a film junkie, right? People can sit down and watch film for hours. I wouldn't say it's more so about being prepared and like being able to translate what you see on film to the field. I feel like that's the biggest part about it. Like, a kid could sit down and watch film for 5.5 hours, but if you can't translate it to the field, then watching the film realistically does nothing for you. It might show you what's about to come, but if you don't know how to, like I said, if you don't know how to be an athlete and play football, the film is gonna help you, but it's not gonna play the game for you. But I would say that, obviously being a film junkie and watching film and everything is probably one of the best things you can do. You're always going to be prepared. And that's one question that, you can ask anybody, and I will always be prepared for every game I play.
And then just to wrap up here, we got one more question I saw in the chat. I want to find that one real quick. Mm-hmm. Oh, where did it go? Sorry, our chat's kind of blowing up right now.
No, it's good. Shoot away. I got time.
Oh, where did it go? Oh, here it is from Judy Small. She wants to know what stood out to you other than Dylan Raiola.
Or who?
About Nebraska?
Who stood up?
I'm guessing it's probably like a player from practices you saw. And I don't know if you're comfortable sharing that since the season hasn't started yet, but if there's any guys you want to share, you can.
I mean, obviously it was cool to see Emmett. I mean, so like a lot of the games I went to and hearing the kids' names and stuff, obviously you're gonna look out for them on the field and watch them play. So Jacoby, or that's his name, right?
Ja'Cory Barney.
Yeah, Ja'Cory. Emmett, Dylan. Getting to know TJ. Who else? I mean, there was a load of kids that Cortez. It was cool to see him. You've been hearing his name so much that getting to see him practice, it was really cool. So there's a bunch of kids that I was really excited to watch. But while I was at practice, it was more so just watching Dylan, see how he moves, see how he really fits into the offense. Because I see a lot of me in him and him and me. So.
There's a question that just popped up in my head, and you hear this a lot from Coach Rule about, guys that are interested in coming to Nebraska. He wants you to come watch practice. And I think part of it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is there is a difference between the coach that's recruiting you and the coach that is coaching you. And if you could just kind of, how is that different for you from like Coach Thomas versus Coach Rule? Like how they are when they recruit you versus when they're on the practice field?
No difference at all.
Okay. Interesting.
And that's what I want every recruiting nation to know is that I went through, I'm committed. I've gone through the whole process. I've seen how coaches act when they're recruiting you and when they're coaching you. No difference at all.
That's awesome, actually.
When I tell you how they are off the field is how they are on the field. Obviously, they're going to be a little bit more strict because But I mean, how they are on the field is how they are off the field, and that's why I try and say when I say they are the most genuine people and straight up coaches I've met throughout this whole process. That's what I mean. Every recruit should know that about Nebraska football, and at the end of the day, like, shoot.
That's good that they're authentic like that.
What I'm going to say about Nebraska is this. when you hear Nebraska, and this is how my process was. This was for me. When you hear Nebraska, you automatically think, what is there? What is Nebraska? You don't know. It's not a name that pops up. It wasn't a name that popped up while I was getting recruited. But then getting there, going to Lincoln, seeing it for like being there and being in the moment and realizing that it's not a moment, it's a vision and what it could be like for me. Like, if you're a recruit and you're getting offered from Nebraska, the best thing you could do is take a visit there. Because Lincoln and the coaching staff there will be the best and, best people you will ever meet and the most real people. And I mean that for real.
It's not the cornfields that everyone has that perception of.
No, it's not.
Maybe when you're driving up to Lincoln, but generally speaking, it's not a bunch of cornfields. And that's what, I think a lot of players that are not from here that are all like, oh, I just thought it was cornfields. And I got to Lincoln. And it's like a vibrant downtown that has a nice little city life, but it doesn't have like that huge city feel.
Right.
We got one question too here. This is from CB. Do you have any plans to go to games in the fall?
Yeah, I plan on being at every home game.
How far of a drive is it from Chicago? Because you're in that Chicago suburb, right?
Yeah, so for me, it's only 6 hours.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No. Honestly, the only game, if they have a home game during, one of my homecoming weekend, I probably won't be there, but
I wouldn't expect you.
I will be at every single home game.
Do you have?
I'll be at every single. I'll be at every single spring or summer camp they have this year.
Yeah, I just saw that they announced their camp schedule too, so that's huge. Being from outside of Nebraska, I asked this to one of our current players when we interviewed him. It's like a delicacy in Nebraska that everyone tries a runza. Did anyone force you to have a runza while you visited Nebraska either time you came?
I've never had a runza, and when I told the people that, they got on me fast.
Trey, I'm just going to tell you, it's overrated. Okay, I lived there for 15 years. You don't have to have it.
Well, I mean, I'm going to try it because when I tell you, I told kids I've never had a runza, and like their mouths dropped. I'm telling you, Zane and I had a whole conversation about runzas. Oh, you're a Nebraska commit and haven't had a runza? You're not a real Nebraska commit. Like, come on, Zane.
Talking about Zane Rowe.
Yeah.
He, just to backtrack to Zane Rowe there, playing DN and tight end in college is what I read that he would like to do. And if you could play two positions in college, what would they be?
I mean, honestly, DN and tight end, like, if anybody could do it, Zane definitely could. He's got the body of a DN, but the athleticism of a tight end. And just put that in your mind, right? I'm gonna keep it 100% honest with you. Like, imagine, right? Like Zane could be a kid that could do that. I really think he could. Sky's the limit for him. So I really hope he's at Nebraska with us. But we've seen Travis Hunter do it. Obviously, it's a lot of a different position, not as many hits on the body. But if anybody could do it, I feel like Zane could.
Do you have a message for Nebraska fans? Then I'll let you get out of here.
Shoot. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
I'm going to do everything I can to get the kids to Nebraska.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Trey. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
We'll see you later, buddy.
See you.
I'm going to back out real quick for that echo.
Oh, I'm muted. It went. Oh, never mind. There we go. All right, I'm back. We are back. Sorry, my mic was echoing as you saw, so I tried to shut my mouth as much as possible. About the Runza comments, I apologize about the Runza comments, but I won't. Where's the hot dog? Wimmer's hot dog. I won't criticize the hot dogs. All right, we'll just stick with Runza. But Brian, I mean, you hear the kid talk. 16 years old, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, he sounds like a freaking grown kid.
It's crazy.
A grown adult, very mature.
That's a 16-year-old.
Sorry for the Runza slander. Okay, I enjoy Runzas.
I don't like cabbage.
That's my problem. I don't like cabbage.
I don't either. I hate cabbage.
But
sorry, everything else is fine. Just the cabbage you can't do. But yeah, shout out to Trae. I mean, we were working on the back burner, figuring out the stream stuff. So like, you know, just his commitment to trying to come on the show, that shows his commitment level.
Yeah, considering we preface this has been a process of 2 months, probably.
Yes,
getting him on here. Like,
yep.
He visited Nebraska. He was literally at a hotel visiting Texas A&M, trying to hop on for 15 minutes, and then that didn't work. And then it was another time. Like, so that's why I was so appreciative of him. Like, the effort that he put to commit to coming on the show. Like, I sincerely appreciate that from Trae, because this was a 2-month-long process of trying to get this to work.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of just logistics on his end. So again, we wanted to make that known, just to tell y'all just how much, you know, he worked on getting on the show to be on and come on and talk to y'all. So we appreciate that a ton. But again, shows his commitment level. So y'all should be and just the way he talks, you know, he identified a lot of things he mentioned are the same things we talked about on the film, you know, just his ability kind of on that throw, you know, talking about getting his hips through, you know, even from angles when his base isn't completely stable underneath him, the way he's able to torque that throw, get his hips through, and is able to drive that ball. Kind of, we talked about the elbow not dropping when he's throwing on the run, coming to the top. Just a lot of really good things. His pocket awareness, like we talked about that, just his ability. And I mentioned CJ Stroud, I think, on his film review when talking about CJ Stroud, what I talk about when he talked about when he went in the NFL, you know, getting to your spots, rotating to your spots before the defense does. There's a specific play on his film where he does that. And that's one of the things that CJ Stroud alluded to about 2 weeks into his NFL career, that he realized early on that he needed to fix. So Trae's ahead of the game in terms of just where he is overall in his understanding of the game and development. And that just makes the actual development of the skills so much easier, you know, when the understanding of the game is there.
Yeah. Trae's great kid. Sorry, I was distracted by that. Bye.
Because bad mouthing runs into a Nebraskan is like bad mouthing in and out to a Cal. In and out sucks too. Yeah.
Yeah, they do suck. So
it's like bad mouthing Whataburger to a Texan. Thank you, Trae. Go Big Red. I agree. Thanks, Trae. Come back soon and often. Get the burgers. I will. I'll try the burgers. It's overrated, but good overrated. Great guest for your show.
Yeah,
appreciate
that's
it.
what
Joseph.
I should have said.
Yeah. I love cabbage. Mom and sister-in-law made me runs of casseroles, double cabbage, double beef. I don't like a lot of things. I'm a very picky eater. I got super tasting taste buds, so I taste bitter things really. And I'm big on textures because I have ADHD. So I have like a sensitivity dysphoria.
Yes,
so
I'm the same way.
Textures throw me off. Trae has a personality, work ethic, and maturity to be all-time favorite Husker if his career goes how I think it will. I think he's already becoming a fan favorite. He's 2 years from getting on campus. So just get the cheeseburger runs. I'll have to try that. I love Valentino's. I will say that. I love Valentino's.
I haven't lived in Nebraska for 15 years. So like when I go back, it's for games. And when I'm at a game, like all I do is drink fluids because I need to keep the vocal cords ready.
I get Valentino's.
For third down and second down on defense.
I get Valentino's while I'm at the game for sure. The rest of my family gets runs, but I get Valentino's. It would be nice to have a quarterback with the same mobility of the Martinez quarterbacks, but the throwing abilities of Dylan. I mean, he flashes he has football speed, and he has the ability to kind of identify and diagnose defenses quickly, kind of like he talked about, which allows him to just get. So let me try to find the best way to describe this. Allows him to attack. As soon as he sees an opening, he attacks. And I think that's the biggest part of his game, and whether you have the mobility or not, if you're a half second late on making your move, or you're a half second late on knowing when you need to scramble, when you need to leave the pocket, like that, to me, just that knowing of the game is going to get you a lot further than just sheer speed, you know, and athleticism will. And so I think that's what's going to help him a lot in understanding, because I think he had almost 500 yards rushing and about 5 touchdowns last season.
Yep.
So I think that'll go a long way for him. It's just his diagnosis of everything.
He said he was like, he saw a lot of similarities between him and Dylan. And I didn't want to say it, but in my head, when he said that, first thing I thought was he's probably way more athletic than Dylan.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, without question.
That's not a slight to Dylan.
Not at all. No, Dylan's just an amazing pocket passing quarterback. Yeah. All right. Well, that about does it for the show. Glad we were able to get Trae on. Again, big shout out to him for coming on, man. Can't thank him enough for everything he did in making this happen. So we'll see if we can get him back on, before too long as well. We'll have the link situation sorted out in advance, hopefully. So that way we can try to pop off. Now we'll do the same thing as before. But again, if y'all like the show, please consider dropping a like on the stream. Let us know that you liked it. And y'all stay tuned for everything we got going up. Trey Taylor film review was posted yesterday. So if y'all want to go check that out, it is up on the channel. Go check that out. Broke a couple of Jace Reynolds film plays down earlier on the stream, but I'll probably break those down more in detail for y'all in the coming days. So, Brian, do you have anything for the people before we conclude and sign off?
Thank you, everybody, for the questions in the chat. I really appreciate that, because when I did this, like my interview guide, it was contingent on Justin having questions and kind of like a flowing interview. And so having people kind of, prod for questions helped me a lot, because I didn't want to just do like 4 or 5 questions and just be like, okay, thanks, Trey, bye. And like 5-minute interview. So the comments, I was trying to read those while he was talking, and it helped me kind of think of my own questions on top of yours. So thank you, chat, so much for all those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we had a pretty good amount of people in here today. So we'll keep the ball rolling in that, keep training, keep bringing all better shows as we go on. So we're just hitting our stride. We're really just starting this thing. So y'all stay tuned, subscribe for more. And like I said, like the videos, leave a comment on the videos if you like them. Let us know what you think about the Trey Taylor film review. And anything else, Brian?
I'll cut up that interview and repost it probably Wednesday afternoon, just so like if you guys want to rewatch it, you don't have to go through an hour and 20-minute show. You can just have that 15-20-minute segment to watch again.
Yep, exactly. Got to get this channel to 10K before game day. Let's do it. Never mind me. I like that spirit. I like that spirit.
We're almost at 7K, I believe.
Yeah. We appreciate your acknowledgement. Hey, the show doesn't go without y'all. So we want to make sure y'all are the centerpiece of the show every single week. So for those of you that enjoy the show, please join us back here next Tuesday live at 6 p.m. Central. And then we got our call-in show this Thursday live at 6 p.m. Central. The Husker Gutter call-in show live at 6 p.m. Central. So y'all stay tuned for that as well. But with that being said, we have concluded our show, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.